Good afternoon from Alicante, Spain. I'll just do a quick video and switch the video off before it destroys the audio. But today, we're going to talk about a few things around, well, various topics. Some of them people will already know, some are things I've been asked about. Some of these are things that I know some people are interested about. Um, The first thing I want to bring up is bank accounts because somebody messaged me about bank accounts this morning. If you're opening a bank account here in Spain, you don't need to have a property here. You don't need your NIE, etc. You can open up what's called a non-resident account. Later on, what you do is you update the address on it. You update it with your NIE. But I know myself because I opened one with Sabadell. It was no problem to open up. All they said is, can you, when you actually do have your a residency contract and your address and that on it, can you come back in? Because they sort of like open it as a preliminary, because even if you went in there with a contract and don't have your NIE and stuff, they will basically hook it into your old address in the UK or whatever. Because I know a lot of people still have a overseas address, before they move to Spain, whether it's the parents' address, whether it's they got another house, whatever it is, you can still utilize that to actually get your bank account open here in Spain. Now, the other thing with that is, I would say, be aware that there's bank charges with Spanish banks. They're not, if you're used to it in the UK, where pretty much your banking's free, unless you're overdrawn, then you're not. You might get a nasty surprise, because I've had it where something changed on my bank account. I'd been fine for a year, and then suddenly they started charging me for every single transaction, even €6 for a €15 transaction. Absolute rip-off. But be aware that that's pretty normal in Spain. So if you do open another account, cover your bases, use it for what you need it for, but also check, is there anything else you need to do? Because it may be easier to pay €40 a year. Because there's a non-resident tax as well, which I think is actually €45 a year. I think they do that on the second quarter, but don't quote me on that. Because one of the big problems you do get is different people have had different experiences, and some of this stuff is localized. So depending who you talk to, the whole rules around it can be completely different, because taking this interpretation, this other person, it took a different interpretation. Somewhere in the middle is your bank account. But ultimately, you shouldn't need to have your NIE. You shouldn't need your address yet, in the sense of your Spanish address, because a lot of the time you can't set anything up without your Spanish bank account, because you need it for paying your bills, you need it for your electric, you need it for your water, you need it for your telephone, you need it for your rent. So yeah, just go into the bank and just tell them you want a non-resident account just to get you started, and then once you get set up, just transfer it over. One of the things I will say as well is, with the non-resident account, you do get one bank card free, a free debit card. But you may, if you ask for another card, they may charge you like €18 a year for it. Because the big problem I have is people just don't tell you what things cost. You just suddenly get these things that are showing as transactions, and that's why I'm sort of bringing this up. Just assume they're going to charge you for everything. So when you go in there, just ask, what's it going to cost me? Because like I say, you've got a non-resident fee, you've got a bank account fee, but to get all your bills paid, you do need to have them in a Spanish bank account. On top of that, there is another issue that often comes up, where landlords don't want to change the name of the owner for paying the water bills, etc. That's quite normal, because it costs money to transfer the names of who's actually paying the bills. So that's pretty normal for you to pay the bill, purely because they get charged for changing the names backwards and forwards. So if you're paying somebody's bill in their name every month, don't worry about it. It's pretty normal here. So that's that bit. And the other next thing, since we're still on real estate, so I met up with Kingsley the other day, that runs a local real estate agency in the Torrevieja area. First thing I want to bring up is long-term rentals. If you've got a long-term rental or you've got a problem, a building that you've been trying to sell, it may pay to actually get it out as a long-term rental. A lot of these new rules relating to the holiday rentals are literally for the holiday period, in the sense that if it's a long-term rental, you're not going to get the same sort of hassles in the sense of needing to have, say, a fire alarm system or whatever. The specifications, I'm not 100% on it, but I'm sure that they'll be requiring a lot more servicing and maintenance, because they're more in line with being a bed and breakfast or hotel rather than being a long-term rental, which is an apartment, in the sense that somebody lives there for 6 months to 2 years or whatever. So if you do have a property that you're interested in having rented out, please get in touch, because I was speaking to Kingsley. Kingsley's got about 60 people on a list waiting for properties. There's a shortage of properties. We're actually looking for long-term rentals. So it wouldn't take long to get it rented out. And the good thing about that is it brings money in. I know some people are still sitting on properties, and it makes sense to get it rented out, get some money in, unless you're selling it. But even then, there's probably something in there we can sort out. Um, because I mean, I know Brian's had a place. His went up for sale quite quickly because he moved in there, been in there a few months, and then it went up for sale. But that's the market is moving a bit. But at the same time, if you've got a property sat empty, it pays to have somebody in there giving you some money every month. And the other side of that was we're talking about the new builds as well, because the new builds are still moving. New build properties, the market is still buoyant. I think a lot of it's tied in with the in-house financing. Um, but the older properties aren't moving as fast, but they are starting to shift. But what the prices are, from what I've seen, I think that the prices are down, but the number of sales are up. Um, so, I mean, I would say, like I said, I mean, if you've got a property already paid for, or you're paying it off, it may pay to rent it out for a year and get that recovery in the rent rather than trying to get it from selling it. Because if you rent it out for a year, then you've obviously got X amount come in your back pocket rather than selling it today and maybe not getting what you originally paid for it. Um, it's up to you. But I mean, the way I look at it, the market is moving. I do think there's some issues relating to too many new houses being built, in the sense that because of their in-house financing, etc., there's more money floating around in those, which makes it a little bit harder to sell the other properties. Um, but at the same time, I mean, speaking with Kings, what we're looking at doing is actually setting up our own little entity where we're getting a fair deal for the buyer and the seller. I was quite surprised to hear how much interest some of these, commission some of these agencies are charging. Because I knew some of them were bad because I've seen it. I've seen a property that was 40,000 in one real estate agent, and around 90,000 in another. And it's all down to what people stack up on commission and whatever they think can get away with. Now, what I'm looking at doing is setting up with the expat services, uh, getting the right deals on the real estate. So we're looking at a higher conversion. We're looking at selling more properties rather than trying to get all the profit out of one property. I'd rather sell 20 properties and have a higher churn. But also we're looking at developing the trust. So if you go with us with the properties, you know that you're going to have assistance with all your NIE, residencia, all the paperwork involved. You're going to be able to know exactly what taxes are due every year. You're going to be able to turn around and say, well, I want to open a business. We're going to be able to assist you with that and the accounting with it. Plus things like roadside assistance, car insurance, and the whole works, the frustrations that occur in Spain if you don't know where to go. And I know a lot of places just charge for everything. And we're trying to get it so it's sensible. I think that'll be the phrase, sensible. So that if you need help, we'll help you. At the end of the day, I'm not looking to become a millionaire off the back of other people. I'm looking at end of the day, helping other people out. And that's why, like the conversation earlier about the bank account, that advice was quite literally free. So yeah, if you've got real estate, long-term rentals, get in touch. If you're looking for property, let me know, what type of property you're looking for, because we're starting to look at buying and selling properties, working with the real estate agent, so we can get the right deals. Like I say, I'm only interested in the properties that are going to be any good for people. In my own mindset, it's some, 'cause I know some people are going to say, well, I want X, Y, Z. Well, that's fine. But what I'm trying to do is, if I know the property is going to be a dud, for example, we're not going to advertise it. As simple as that. Yeah, so that's the long-term rentals. That's the real estate. What else have we got to talk about? Oh, why is the mathematics on the channel? The reason being is there's a new system, or well, it's not a new system. I think it came out in 2008. In this area, they seem to be using it's called, what's it? APN? ABN mathematics, and it's predominantly, it's been done by somebody who's Spanish by the looks of it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see the point of it. I find it annoying in the sense that it just doesn't seem practical, it doesn't seem useful. And reading the article written by the actual author, it almost seems like she struggled with mathematics. It really does. Because I deal with mathematical formulas, in the sense that when I did my electronics engineering, I had to understand formulas like I equals V over R, and, Ohm's law and all this sort of stuff. So I think with this, it's sort of I can't understand it, because the whole point of the mathematics, that I understand, it comes down to one thing that makes it easy for me. It's to do with relevance. Like when you get these mathematics, if a train was leaving a train station at 2 p.m. going from A, and it's traveling at 10 miles an hour, what time will it get to B? And the distance is X. Those are things, although they're putting something as a real world scenario, it doesn't mean anything to a child. I think it's got to be relevant. I mean, it's like I work out square meterages of hospitals, buildings, and everything else because it's relevant. I understand it. And I do think this mathematics system has sort of missed all that point. Because it's not the formula. The formulas are very simple to use in a traditional method. I find it very quick, very easy. And I know some people may struggle, but I think it's got more to do with the relevance of it. This box system seems extensively long, and time consuming, but that's my own opinion. But on top of that, I would say they have to do it, which is why I've been doing these in English, because I know it's in Spanish, but I know if your kids come home and need help with homework, you may actually want to sit there and learn how to do it so you can make sure the kids understand it properly. That's why I'm doing those things. So that as stuff comes available where I know kids are struggling, I'll throw it on the channel just to help people, help parents out, but also the kids might find it useful as well, because I try to make it more simplistic than what's actually in the book, simply because when I look at the book, it didn't make that much sense to me. But when I sit there and spend a bit of time on it, I think separating it out the way I do makes it easier. But I do think the system is based on a visualization of things like a bundle of sticks or something. But you don't always have a bundle of sticks when you're trying to work, which is why I have this issue with the fact that it will not help them long term. They need to move away from this whole, I've got 10 bundles of sticks or whatever, and actually trying to understand the logic behind equations, because then you can do it all in your head. But that's my own viewpoint on that. Yeah, so we've done the bank accounts, we've done the long-term rentals, done the mathematics. I suppose the last point today is, where do we want the channel to go? In the comments section, or message me, what would you like to see more of? Because I want to expand this channel out a bit now. It's starting to develop, and I'd like to thank everybody for supporting the channel. And if you enjoy the live chats, the videos, etc., please like, please subscribe, please share, because the development of the channel is just about, it's as much about you as it is about me, because I want to know what people want to see, want to know, want to hear, so that I can give you the right information. I can get the right information. I can approach the right people, so that we know we're on the right page. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of this is to help other people. I know I've talked about the real estate agents, and setting up a venture with that, but at the same time, it's why I'm also being open with it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to sell you a property based on just making money. I'm selling the properties because I'm getting more and more people ask me about properties, but also I'm only going to put in properties I see worthy. I'm also going to be doing it in a way where I spend time doing a video in it, videoing around the area, so you know exactly what you're getting into. I'm not going to be just going, hey, this is a nice property, blah blah blah. I don't do that. I mean, it it goes against my own principles. So it's going to be a case of getting the right properties that I think, hey, this is a nice little place, this is in the right good location, etc., etc. It's like Igor's apartment. Although it's dated, the location is next to the beach, it's near restaurants, etc., etc. It's 5 minutes walk from La Mata Plaza. It's in a nice secure area. That's why I quite happily advertise it, because quite simply, it's a nice property. You know, it's nice location, nice build. I know Igor well. I know he'll maintain it. I know he'll look after it for you. So if you do move in there, if you have any problems, he'll fix them, because he does. I mean, that's what Igor does. He does maintenance anyway. That's his main business. Um, but that's the point. I'm not going to look at, there's not going to be a case of, well, we're just going to try and sell this. That's not how it works. It's going to be a case of looking at properties and going, that price seems a good price. That looks a nice location. We'll go and have a look. We'll go and video it. We'll take some 360 footage, etc., and making sure that you've got all the right information, so that if you said, you know what, I like that property, you already feel informed or are informed, or you can say, Matt, how do I go about this? Who do I use for a mortgage, etc.? And I could even help with that sort of stuff. Because I mean, with it, Andreas does the conveyancing as well, so all the paperwork side as well. Andreas is on the ball with that. So yeah, I know. I mean, the whole point is I'm trying to get to a point where we're a one-stop shop, so that if you do need anything, we can do it, from needing a fishing license to um, knowing who to use for medical insurance, to knowing where to buy a car. You know, because at the end of the day, if you're moving to a new country, it's very easy to get ripped off by people. And I know myself, I've been stung a couple of times since I've been in Spain. But the longer I've been here, the more knowledge I've gained. And I'm quite happy to let other people tap into what I've experienced and known, the knowledge I've gained while I've been here. So thanks for watching. Hope everybody enjoyed the live chat. I'll cut this one off as a bit of a short one, but great to hear. Any questions, anything anybody wants to know, please drop in the comments.